All right, so Standard 663, half of that is the fall of Rome, which we talked about. 476 AD, it leads to 1,000 years of dark ages in Europe because the roads weren't defended. The other part of the Roman Empire, which was, they spoke what? Greek. The eastern part spoke Greek, and that was where all what was? That's where all the money was. That empire lasts for 1,000 years after that. The city, Constantinople, was extremely well defended. They had 7 layers of walls, just like those walls that defended Jerusalem. So they were in good shape. So the last thing with the Byzantines, you're gonna learn about that next year. And I'm going to do some lessons and some videos on that after our last test is over. But the final thing is the Byzantine Empire. It is the Eastern Roman Empire. It lasts for 1,000 years because Constantinople was so well defended. The only way that falls, the Ottoman Empire conquers them in 1453 because of cannon. Constantinople lasts until about 40 years before Columbus. That's how long the Roman Empire lasts. It lasts a long time. The Ottoman Empire lasts until World War I. So Constantinople is still a major city. It's Istanbul, Turkey. The main thing, we don't have a lot to talk about. You'll talk about it next year when you talk with Coach Carter. The main thing we're going to learn that we get from the Byzantines is a guy by the name of Justinian. Justinian has a law code where everyone is treated the same. Rich, poor, doesn't matter. And what word do we get from Justinian? Justice. Right? So the idea of justice, everybody being equal in the law, everybody being on the same rules, the idea of justice comes from Justinian. We're done. Okay? We're done with our standards. We finished. I told you we'd finish, didn't I? And we did. All right, so now we're going to go all the way back. We're going to go all the way back to August. Now, I have a breakdown of everything that is on the TCAP. The TCAP questions will be about between 41 and 46 questions. Almost always it's 45 questions. Sometimes it's a 22-question test followed by a 23-question test. Sometimes it's a 20-question test followed by a 25-question test. Always going to be 45, 46. Okay? So, we got 62 standards. So what's that mean? Not all are going to be on the test. So right now, we are already at an advantage. Almost every one of you has taken that TCAP review easy or TCAP review hard, and there was a question from every standard on there. So already, you should already feel confident. If you got any on the TCAP review hard, if you got anything above 50%, you're rolling. Okay, you're doing good. Okay, some of you got in the 80s on that. Raise your hand if you had the highest score, 89, I think it was. Okay, I think it was maybe Dakota. Anyway, you're going to be set up very well, but we have to prepare. Now, standards 601 to 612. There's about 20% of the questions on there. So who's got some math? If we take if we take 46 questions, 46 and 20% of them, so 9 questions. You're going to have about 9 questions of early man through Mesopotamia. So let's talk about early man. We've hit that pretty well. Fun here. There we go. Raise your hand if you know what BC means. Ready?
Before Christ.
Before Christ. Raise your hand if you know what BCE means.
Before Common Era.
Before the Common Era. What is it basically the same thing as? It's the same thing as BC. It just removes religion or Jesus from charting time. There's been a big push to do that. No normal person does that. Every normal person in the world uses BC and AD. You don't have to be a Christian to accept that. That's just how time has been charted for 700 years. So if you see BCE on the test, it means BC, which is before the birth of Christ. You agree? Good. Raise your hand if you know what AD means.
After death.
No. Which means what? Which means what? Not death. in the year of our Lord, which means what? It's not after Jesus' death, it means after his birth, right? It's the year of our Lord. Does everybody agree? So everything up until that time is BC, before Christ. Everything after that time is AD. Okay, so everything before is a countdown to, everything after is a countdown from. Why do we still chart the time that way? How did the ancient people chart their time? By the rule of their kings. And so you just cross-reference everything to get as close as we can. Well done. So what does CE mean? Common era. What's it basically mean? It's the same thing as AD. It's the same thing. Now, I don't know which one will be on your test. It will be either BC and AD, or it'll be BCE and CE. Does everybody feel confident you know about that? Good, I hope so. What does circa mean?
About the time.
Around the time of it. Good. How long is a decade? Raise your hand. Emma. 10 years. A decade is 10 years. How long is a century? 100 years. Well done. There's standard 601. Boom. Just like that. 61 to go. All right. What does nomadic mean? Michael?
No permanent home.
No permanent home. Does that mean that they didn't use the same home over and over? No, of course they did. What did they travel with? They traveled with the animals. The animals are always near what? Water. Good. What did prehistoric man, nomadic hunters and gatherers, what did they use for their weapons? What are the 5 main materials? Nash. Bone. Ivory. Wood. Stone. And antler. Good. Stone, bone, antler, ivory, and wood. Well done. What was the game changer? What was the main thing that they discovered how to control? Before that. Fire. What did man use fire for? Cooking food. Hot, warm in the cold. Light in the dark. Protection. And last thing. Smelting metal. Well done. What did prehistoric man use for shelter? Remember, prehistoric man travels with the food. So what are we going to use for shelter? Diane. Mammoth bone huts. Big tents. Yurts. Do people still use that? Somewhat. They're not made out of mammoth bones, but they do. Nomadic people still travel with those tents. What else do they use? Caves. Very good. That's why you call them caveman. All right. So, what was the first metal that man smelted? No. Copper. Very good. Y'all remember Ötzi the Iceman? Ötzi the Iceman had that copper axe. Well done. Hey, there's standard 6'2". Just like that. Y'all are doing great. 603. Explain the impact of the agricultural revolution. What does domestication mean? What? To take control of what? Balaam. Animals and? No. Plants. And by taking control of, you control the location and the amount of the plants or animals. And once you have domestication, what does that lead to? Permanent settlements. If you can control where and how much the food is, you're going to have a permanent settlement. Also, you're going to start having what? Farms, yes, you're going to have permanent farms, settlements. Cities. You're going to get there eventually. It's going to lead to cities. What happens there when you have, what's the word for extra? Surplus. You're going to have a surplus. And we know that when early man has a surplus, more food equals more people. And when you have more people, not everybody has to work getting what? Food. So what can you have? Specialized jobs.
Josiah Carver, Sarah Chamberlain, Cadence Holder, Jackson Law,
Carver?
Miley Miller.
Oh, this is high school. Oh, okay. That's what I said.
Holly
Carver, I
Morton,
2 years
Colby
ago.
Osborne, Genesis Peak, Lacey Powell, Alicia Pugh, and Caitlin Morley to go to the library, please.
All right, excellent, excellent. When you have more, when you have a surplus, you're going to have specialized jobs, you're going to have permanent settlements, you're going to have farms. What can you do with that extra food? Trade it. That's called the barter economy, when you trade this for that. You agree? Well done. Now, the final thing on Standard 603, new sources of clothing and shelter. What are we going to start using for clothing? You're going to start using wool. Cloth, sure, you're going to start growing that. What about leather? Start using leather. For one thing, it's not going to be as cold. The ice age is coming to an end. What are you going to use for your homes? Wood. You're going to start building wooden homes, permanent structures. You're going to start making your own bricks, right? You don't have to travel in Mammoth Lawn Huts. You don't have to travel at all because you're going to have your food and your plants with you. So you're going to start building non-transportable shelters. Good. Wood, stone, and bricks. Good. Well done. Oh, here's a good one. Who can name, and you got to do all 8. Yeah. Who can name the 8 features of civilization? Raise your hand if you think you can do it. I'm going to pick one. You're iffy. You're confident. You're confident. You're confident. All right, here we go. Aurora, name all 8.
Organized religion.
Religion.
Government.
Organized government.
Cities.
Cities are the centers of trade and communication.
Public works.
Public works. The government makes things the people's want.
Art and architecture.
Art and architecture, an expression of our culture. Oh, you got 5. Rex, start over.
Oh. Organized religion.
Organized religion.
Public works.
Public works.
Specialized jobs.
Specialized jobs.
Social pyramid.
Social classes.
Social classes. Can I say government?
I think you said government. Oh, you said religion. Organized government. Oh, you all.
Cities.
Cities are the centers of trade and information. Liera, finish them off. Art and architecture. Last one. Record keeping. We're going to keep records. How do we know that a civilization is important? They wrote things down or told stories about it. Well done. Good job. Y'all feel pretty good about that? It's hard. I don't know if there's ever been a question on that, but I wish there was. I think you all would do well. All right, good. That's early man. Y'all agree with early man? Domestication, fire, no permanent homes until they have domestication. Civilizations are going to arise because you're going to have surplus of foods. Everybody feel good about that? All right, unit 1, down. All right, now, when we're looking at the maps, what's the number one thing you look for on a map of the ancient world? The 2 fingers of the Red Sea. You can find anything from the 2 fingers of the Red Sea. To the left, you're going to have the Nile and the Delta. To the north, you're going to have Canaan, Israel. Then you're going to, as you turn the curve and you find those 2 rivers, you're going to have Mesopotamia. If you go straight up and you go to the left of Israel, you're going to see Cyprus. Cyprus is right next to Greece. And then you're going to look for the boot, cooking, and football. What's that?
Rome.
That's going to be the Italian peninsula. Good. So, always look for those 2 fingers of the Red Sea. It doesn't matter on these maps. Everything is going to be black and white. You may see the water being gray. You may see the land being gray. It doesn't matter. Look for the shape of the 2 fingers of the Red Sea, and then you're good to go. Is everybody clear on that? Well done. All right, when we're talking about Mesopotamia, what are those 2 rivers? Raise your hand. Rear. The Tigris and the Euphrates. Well done. At the bottom of Mesopotamia, what gulf is that? No. No, Gulf. Brett. Weston. The Persian Gulf. The Persian Gulf is at the very end. When you go around the curve and you find the two rivers, the rivers will go down and empty into the Persian Gulf. Pretty clear on that? Pretty clear on that? Good. Don't mistake the Persian Gulf with the Red Sea. What are those mountains that separate Iran, Iraq, or Persia and Mesopotamia? Yeah. No. No. Starts with a Z. The Zagros Mountains. Very good. The Zagros Mountains. Well done. Yeah, I think the rest is pretty good. What's the largest sea in the world? Raise your hand. Jacob. No, that's the ocean. You're close.
What?
Shanks. The Mediterranean Sea. If you look above the mouth of the Nile empties, remember going up, the Nile empties into the largest sea in the world, it's the Mediterranean Sea. Okay? The whole ancient world is right next to the Mediterranean Sea. Okay? You gotta know that. Why did they call it? Let's pick somebody else. Molly. Put you right on the spot. 71 people looking right at you. Why did they call it the Fertile Crescent? Okay, good farmland. You're absolutely right. Good farmland next to what? What caused that good farmland? Yes, you're getting ready to say. Huh? The two rivers, the Tigris and Euphrates. Very good. Jacob, what did the Tigris and Euphrates rivers do that made that fertile land? How did you get fertile land? Go ahead. They flooded, right? And Morgan, what's that called? Silt, right? Flood mud is silt. The silt, the rivers would flood. Jacob, Ethan, did those rivers flood at a good time? No, they didn't. Remember, it's very dangerous, but it still caused the land to be fertile when that would flood. And it would have that silt. That silt would be all over, and it would be really good for farming. Very good. What does it not do very much in Mesopotamia? It doesn't, say it. It doesn't rain very much. So they are dependent on their fresh water and growing crops from those two rivers. Well done. Okay. I think you're good there. Raise your hand. Actually, I'm going to pick one. Michaela, what is irrigation? Yes, it's when man moves water from where it is to where he wants it, or stop the movement of water from where it is from where they don't want it. Right? What are the two main forms of ancient world irrigation? This is a tough one. Liera, two main forms. One starts with a C, one starts with an L. Canals? Levees, canals and levees. A canal is an artificial waterway. A levee is an artificial water wall. Well done. Good. What is that stuff called when it floods? Say it again, Morgan. Silt. Well done. How did the smelting of metal, Bardo, how did the smelting of metal help mankind? Stronger tools. Stronger tools and weapons. Well done. Name some inventions of the Mesopotamian that helped mankind. We already got smelting copper. Emma. The wheel. What kind of wheel? What kind of wheel? Balaam. Huh? Say it. Plow is one. Tell me two different kind of wheels. You got the cart wheel, right? Because a wheeled cart can carry more. And you got the potter's wheel to make clay pots with. You boys agree? We talked a long time. And you said the plow. The plow is to bust up farmland. Well done. So you're all the way through 605 is the map. 606 is the Fertile Crescent. 607 is their achievements and inventions. Expansion of trade. All right, so what happens in Mesopotamia? What grows up in Mesopotamia because of civilization? Individual what? We're going to have Sumer, city-states. City-states. How are what is a city-state? It's a large city with surrounding farmland. What is usually around the city, Michael? A defensive wall. All of these city-states have their own what? Water source. Government. Religion. Have their own religion, right? They'll have their own food source, right? Yep. They have their own military. Good, good. So, an ancient world city-state is like a little country. Okay? The idea of a country does not really grow up until you talk about next year, when you talk about France. France is the first modern-day country. Okay? But all these city-states, did they all get along? Does man get along with man? No. No. Why? Because you're going to want to take what?
Land.
Take power, take their stuff, take their land, take their women, whatever. That's what man does. Okay? All right, so basic concepts. Who was the first king? Starts with an S. Sargon. Sargon of Akkad. What Sargon does is men want to attack each other and take their stuff. Sargon will attack the other city-states and he will conquer them and he will rule all of them. Good, well done. So the first empire were the Akkadians. Mesopotamia has the first empire. You're going to have the Sumerians, the Akkadians. You're going to have the Babylonians. Anybody remember who the ancient world bad guys were? It starts with an A. The Assyrians. The Assyrians, right? The Assyrians would skin people alive and chain them through their lip. They were all Mesopotamians. Good. And then we've got the Chaldeans or the Babylonians, Nebuchadnezzar. Good. I think you're good on that. Basic concept. Phoenix. What is polytheism? The belief in many gods. Well done. Belief in many gods. What did the Mesopotamians, Catherine? Wait, actually kill me. Why did the Mesopotamians believe that their gods created them to be what? Your name ain't Catherine? You want me to go over here? You got one coming though, right? Logan, why did the Mesopotamians believe their gods created them? To do their work, to be their slaves. Where did the Mesopotamians, where did they believe their gods lived?
Ziggurat.
Raise your hand up. Let's see, someone else. Catherine, where did the Mesopotamians believe their God lived? Starts with a Z. You want to pass the street? Street. In the ziggurat. The ziggurat was that pyramid-shaped temple. And then remember they had the house on top. How did the Mesopotamians, how did they know that's where their God lived, Reagan? The priest told them, which is a pretty good gig, right? Because ain't no God lived up there. So the priest told them, hey, you've got to give your best food, your best cloth, girls, you got to give them to the God. We'll take them up to him and take care of the God, right? That's a pretty sweet gig. Okay, and that was real. Good, well done. Who was the first king? Let's see, let me pick one. Dakota. No, Catherine. I can come back to you. All right, Catherine. You nervous? You want me to skip? You want me to come back to you in another one? All right, you're nervous right now. Dakota. Who was the first king who created a law code? Huh? No, not good. Good guess. No, you weren't in. No, Weaver. Hammurabi's law code. You remember we did the thing? The Hammurabi's law code, and we did that poster that had all the school rules? Good. All right, so Mesopotamians. Tell me about the law code. Why is it important Jenna, you weren't even here for this. I'm going to try you. I want you to just tell me your opinion. Okay? It's okay if you're wrong, because I'm going to tell it to you right now. Why was it important for mankind to write down their laws? Yes. Yes. So everybody knows the laws. Not just the people, but the government too. The government says, well, you broke the law. You're like, that's not on here. Right? Who else writes all their laws down? Us. You agree? Well done. All right, I want you to pause.